Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to another lesson. In this lesson, we are going to learn about IELTS Writing Task 2. We are going to focus on how to write an agree, disagree type of essay. In this lesson, we are going to concentrate on how to write the introduction. In the next lesson, I'm going to teach you how to write the rest of the essay, that is the main body and the conclusion. So if you want to get the complete essay, I recommend that after watching this video, you watch the next video on how to write the main body and the conclusion. But before we begin the lesson, I would like to give you some information about writing task 2. You get 40 minutes to write your task 2. 40 minutes. You should write more than 250 words. If you're aiming for a band 8 or a band 9, you should write at least 300 words. Your task 2 is worth about 66% of your total writing marks. You will be marked on task response, coherence and cohesion, vocabulary, and grammar. That is task response, which has to do with whether you have answered all the parts of the question. Then coherence and cohesion, how you use linking words to join and develop your ideas, and also how you use paragraphs to do that. Then vocabulary, that is using words that are relevant to the topic of the question. And then you have grammar, that is your tenses, how you use subject-verb agreement, how you use plural and singular, how you use different types of words, prepositions, for example, phrasal verbs. But mainly it has to do with your tenses. Now, the next thing that I would like to point out about writing task 2 is that for academic students, you are expected to write a formal essay. And there are different types of essays that you may be requested to write. For example, an opinion essay, which this one is, discussion essay, advantage, disadvantage essay, or direct question sort of essays, and you could also get solution types of essays. If you're interested in learning more about those types of essays, I have actually uploaded videos on all the different types of writing task 2. So have a look at my playlist on writing task 2 for more essays. I also, of course, have a playlist on writing task 1, if that's what you're interested in. Now, the general training task, students writing task 2 is the same as the academic IELTS. The general training and the academic IELTS get exactly the same type of writing task 2. The essay is written in the same way and the scoring is the same. The only difference is that the general training essay questions are often easier and the topics are simpler. Now, you know all the information about writing task 2, so let's get into our question. But before we do that, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful. Now, let's look at our question. As I said earlier on, in this lesson, we are only going to concentrate on how to write the introduction. In the next lesson, I will teach you how to write the main body and the conclusion. So let's look at the question. The question is, prevention is better than cure. Researching and treating diseases is too expensive, so it would be better to invest in preventative measures. To what extent do you agree? The first and the most important thing is to understand the question. Read the question and underline the key words in the question. Prevention is better than cure. That is an English proverb. What does it actually mean? Prevention is better than cure. It means that it is easier to stop something from happening in the first place than to repair the damage after it has happened. Then we move on. Researching and treating diseases is too expensive. So according to this argument, according to this statement, researching diseases and treating them is too expensive. So this statement offers a solution. What is the solution? Instead of researching and treating diseases, it would be better to invest in preventative measures. So instead of spending so much money researching and treating diseases, it is better to invest that money in preventing the diseases from happening in the first place. So according to this statement, it is better to prevent diseases than to research and treat them. Because according to this statement, that is too expensive. So once you have understood the meaning of the statement, and as I said, the meaning is that it is better to prevent diseases than to research them and treat them. It is cheaper. It is cheaper to prevent diseases than to wait until the diseases have actually taken place and research and treat them. So it is cheaper to prevent diseases than to research and treat them. That is the meaning of the statement. Now, do you agree with that statement? Do you agree that it is cheaper to prevent diseases than to research and treat them? Do you agree with that statement? Do you agree with that opinion that it is cheaper to prevent diseases than to research and treat them? Now, to what extent do you agree? In that question, you can either agree with a statement, or you can fully disagree with a statement, or you can agree and disagree. I repeat, to what extent do you agree? That question means that you can decide to fully agree with a statement, or you can decide to fully disagree with a statement, or you can decide to agree and disagree with a statement. Now, in my personal opinion, you don't have to do this. I always encourage my students to either agree 100% or disagree 100%. Because if you're partial, which means that you agree and disagree, then you complicate your essay. You only have 40 minutes. You want to make it as easy as possible for yourself. So why don't you just agree 100% or disagree with a statement 100%? But if you still want to, you can agree with a statement and disagree with a statement. That is also an option. So you have three options. When you're asked to what extent do you agree, you're being asked, option number one, you can agree fully. I agree fully with a statement. Option number two, I disagree fully with a statement. Option number three, I agree and disagree with the statement. So you agree with it and you disagree with it. Now, once you have understood the question and you know exactly what the question requires you to do, the next thing that you need to do is to write the introduction. Now, when it comes to the introduction, the examiner is marking for two things. The examiner is going to mark your background statement and your thesis statement. So in your introduction, the examiner is going to give you marks for the background statement and the thesis statement. How do you write the background statement? How do you write the background statement? Now, here are some tips on how to write the background statement. Tip number one, paraphrase IELTS statement. What does paraphrase mean? Paraphrase means you write the statement in your own words. Tip number two, use your own words but retain original meaning. In other words, when you paraphrase the statement, remember to ensure that you do not change the meaning of the statement. So retain it, keep it. Tip number three, you can change the form of the words. You can change the form of the words, as you will see later on. Now, let's look at the statement. How do we paraphrase it? Prevention is better than cure. That is a proverb. So, for you to paraphrase that statement, you have to explain the meaning of the proverb in your own words. Prevention is better than cure. You have to explain the meaning of that proverb in your own words. And it means it is easier to stop something from happening in the first place than to repair the damage after it has happened. So the proverb, prevention is better than cure, it means that it is easier to stop something from happening in the first place than to repair the damage after it has happened. So that is the first thing that you write in your background statement. When you have an essay question that has a proverb, the very first thing that you need to do is to explain the proverb in your own words in your background statement. As I have done there, the proverb, prevention is better than cure, I have paraphrased it, I have explained it in my own words, and that it is easier to stop something from happening in the first place than to repair the damage after it has happened. Prevention is better than cure. It is better to stop something from happening. That means prevention in the first place than to repair the damage after it has happened. So damage here means cure. Repair the damage, to cure the disease. So the first thing you do is explain the proverb. After that, you paraphrase the rest of the statement. So let's do it together. Researching and treating diseases. We are going to replace the word researching with investigating. Investigating means researching. The next word is and. We simply replace that word with no other because and is a joining word. So investigating, but you can, if you want, you can replace and with other linking words such as, for example, researching as well as treating diseases. But for the sake of the essay, I will leave and as and. So investigating replaces researching. The next word is treating. We are going to replace the word treating with the word medicating. Medicating replaces the word treating. The next word is diseases. We are going to replace the word diseases with ailments. Ailments and diseases mean exactly the same. So what you notice there is I'm looking for word synonyms. Investigating is the synonym of researching. Medicating is the synonym of treating. Ailments is the synonym of diseases. Or you can use the word sicknesses. Instead of diseases, you can use sicknesses. Or illnesses. You have a number of words there. Instead of diseases, you can use ailments, or you can use diseases, or you can use sicknesses. The next word is. I keep is, and after that we have the word too expensive. I replace that with extremely. I replace too with the word extremely. And then I replace the word expensive with the word costly. It is too expensive. It is extremely costly. Extremely is the synonym of too, and expensive is the synonym of costly. And then after that we have so it would be better. So I have replaced the word so with thus. Thus, so, they mean the same. And the next word is it would be better. I replace the word would with ought. It ought to be. It would be. Those two phrases mean the same. It ought to be. It would be better. It ought to be and it would be. Those two phrases mean the same. The next word is better. Better. I replace the word better with preferable. Preferable. It is preferable. It is better. So I replace the word better with preferable. The next word is to invest. Invest. I replace the word invest with spend money. Spend money. It would be better to invest. It ought to be preferable to spend money in. When you invest in something, it means you spend money in something. So the phrase to invest in and the phrase to spend money in mean exactly the same. The next word is preventative. Preventative, I have replaced that word with deterrent. Deterrent. Deterrent and preventative in this essay mean exactly the same. Deterrent and preventative. And then the last word is measures. Measures. I replace the word measures with the word initiatives. Preventative measures, deterrent initiatives. Initiatives and measures mean exactly the same. So that's how you write the introduction in regards to the background statement. All you have to do is paraphrase IELTS statement. If IELTS statement has a proverb, then the first thing that you need to do is explain the proverb in your own words. And then after that, you replace the rest of the words in the rest of the statement with your own words, but make sure that you retain the original meaning of the word. Okay? Now, let's move on to the thesis statement. Remember, all of this is one paragraph. The background statement and the thesis statement, it's just one paragraph. So after you have written your background statement, you move on to the thesis statement. What do you put in your thesis statement? I have given you 3 tips. Tip number 1, remember that your thesis statement, it is your answer to IELTS question. So the background statement deals with the first part of the statement, and then the thesis statement deals with the question. And the question in this case is, to what extent do you agree? So you write your answer to that question in your thesis statement, because your thesis statement, it is your answer to IELTS question. An IELTS question is, to what extent do you agree? Like I said earlier on, you have 3 options. First of all, you can agree with a statement 100%. Option number 2, you can disagree with a statement 100%. Option number 3, you can agree and disagree with a statement 100%. So to what extent do you agree? It means you either agree or disagree or agree and disagree. And then in your thesis statement, that is where you introduce your opinion or your ideas. You introduce your opinion. You don't go into details with your opinion. You simply answer IELTS question. By doing that, you will be introducing your opinion. Now, let's see how you write that. You always begin your thesis statement for this question, to what extent do you agree? You begin that by making your opinion clear. So you can begin with, from my perspective, I'm aiming for a band 9, that's why I have used perspective. You can also use from my perspective, or you can use in my opinion, or you can use in my view, or you can use I am of the opinion that. Either way, ensure that you begin your thesis statement with words that make it very clear that you're introducing your opinion. So in my case, I have used from my perspective. You can also use in my opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. Or you can use in my view. And then remember to have a comma after that. So from my perspective, comma. The next thing is you decide which one. Do you agree? 2, do you disagree? 3, do you agree and disagree? Now, make it very clear. And that's why I have used the words I totally agree. I totally, that means 100%. I totally agree that money. So after that, then I explain what I agree with. So from my perspective, I totally agree with IELTS statement. And that is, I totally agree that money should be invested in trying to prevent diseases instead of funding medical researching of diseases and spending billions of dollars on treatment procedures. So I totally agree with IELTS statement that researching and treating diseases is too expensive. So it would be better to invest in preventative measures. I totally agree that money should be invested in trying to prevent diseases. Okay? It would be better to invest in preventative measures. It it is better, okay, that money should be invested in trying to prevent diseases instead of funding medical researching of diseases. So instead of researching and treating diseases and spending billions of dollars on treatment procedures. So in your thesis statement, first of all, introduce it using words that suggest your opinion. You can use "from my perspective" or you can use "in my opinion." After that, make it very clear that you either agree. So you could say, for example, "from my perspective, I totally disagree that money should be invested in trying to prevent diseases instead of funding medical researching of diseases and treatment procedures." So if you disagree, you could say that, "From my perspective, I totally disagree that money should be invested in trying to prevent diseases instead of funding medical researching of diseases and treatment procedures." So if you disagree, that's what you should say. But make it very clear. From my perspective, use the word totally. I totally agree, or I totally disagree. Okay? And then if you want to agree and disagree, then you can say, "From my perspective, firstly, I agree with the opinion that money should be invested in trying to prevent diseases instead of funding medical researching of diseases and treatment. On the other hand, I disagree with the opinion that money should be invested in trying to prevent diseases instead of funding medical researching of diseases and their treatment." So from my perspective, I agree and disagree with the statement that researching and treating of diseases is too expensive. So it would be better to invest in preventative measures. Now, you can choose to do that, but as you can see already, it complicates your life. When you agree and disagree at the same time, there is a big chance that you will write a very, very messy essay that will take you a lot of time, and an essay that will make it very difficult for you to develop your ideas. So, my friends, why don't you make it easier for yourself? Just agree totally or disagree totally. Okay? Instead of agreeing and disagreeing. So when you're asked to what extent do you agree, either agree or disagree. There are essays where you are forced to disagree, where you're forced to agree and disagree. But this is not that type of essay, so don't make life difficult for yourself by agreeing and disagreeing with a statement. Okay? Simply decide, but remember the word totally. From my perspective, I totally agree. That means I agree 100%. Or I totally disagree. And then what I have done after the words "I totally agree" is I have explained IELTS statement, or rather my opinion on IELTS statement. I have introduced my opinion. I've introduced my ideas. Okay, so from my perspective, I totally agree. What do I agree with? That money should be invested in trying to prevent diseases instead of funding medical researching of diseases and spending billions of dollars on treatment procedures. So I would rather that we invest a lot of money trying to prevent diseases instead of waiting until people have got sick and then we start researching those diseases and treating them. In my opinion, that is much more expensive. Okay, so that's how you write your thesis statement. Now, this brings me to the last section of this lesson, where I'm going to give you a recap of the main ideas that will be very helpful in writing this essay. The first thing is read the question and make sure that you understand it. Read the statement. Make sure you understand it. After that, write your background statement. What should you write in your background statement? If IELTS question has a proverb, like for example, in our case, we have the proverb, prevention is better than cure. Then in your background statement, first explain the proverb in your own words. After that, then you need to paraphrase the rest of the statement, which is researching and treating diseases is too expensive, so it would be better to invest in preventative measures. Paraphrase that statement. Write that statement in your own words, but don't change the meaning. Once you have done that, then write your thesis statement. When the examiner looks at your thesis statement, they should know your opinion. It is your answer to IELTS question, which is, to what extent do you agree? When the examiner looks at your thesis statement, they should know straight away whether you agree or whether you disagree or whether you agree and disagree. Because your thesis statement, it is your answer to IELTS question, which is, to what extent do you agree? Remember, don't make life difficult for yourself in the thesis statement when it comes to this sort of question. So simply agree or disagree. Begin your thesis statement with the words "from my perspective" or "in my opinion." And then after that, use the words "I totally agree" or "I totally disagree." And then explain what you disagree with or what you agree with, which is basically the opinion that is in the statement that IELTS has provided you with. Researching and treating diseases is too expensive, so it would be better to invest in preventative measures. That is IELTS argument. So do you agree with that argument or do you not agree with it? That is what the thesis statement is about. So in your thesis statement, make it very clear what your opinion is and then introduce your opinion. Okay? Now, if you're going to be sitting for your IELTS exam, whether it's speaking or writing or listening or reading, I wish you all the best. Remember, all you have to do is practice. Do a lot of practice because practice makes perfect. If you found this lesson helpful at all, then you know what to do, my friends. Give this video a thumbs up. That will let me know that I need to upload more videos about IELTS Writing Task 2. If you want more videos on IELTS Writing Task 2, then give this video a thumbs up, and from the thumbs up, I will know that you want more videos. And remember to subscribe to the channel for more useful content. And the most important of all, do not forget to share this video on all your social media platforms. I have shared this video with you with a lot of love. Share this video with others and spread this love. That will help to make our world a better place. Okay? So give the video the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share the video on all your social media platforms, and turn your notification bell on, because I'm going to be uploading the second part of this essay, that is how to write the main body and the conclusion. Now, thank you very much and see you in our next lesson. Bye bye.